panel discussion, which is about the changing role of CFOs in the age of digital transformation, how technology is driving innovation and transformation in finance. And for the same, I would like to introduce the moderator. Mr. Kanian Chatterjee is a seasoned enterprise functional transformational professional with 16 plus years of experience in the industry. He specializes in finance and procurement function transformation cutting across industries. Please welcome the moderator, Mr. Kanian Chatterjee, Associate Partner and Practice Lead, Finance Transformation Advisory at IBM Consulting. Let's have a huge round of applause for the moderator. And up next, I would request the following panelists to kindly join us on the stage. Mr. Peeyush Gupta, Group CFO at Viterra. Mr. Swapnil Misra, Director, Commercial Finance at Mondeléz, India. I would request the following panelists kindly join us on the stage. Mr. Peeyush Gupta and Mr. Swapnil Misra. Mr. Vimal Ladha, CFO, Property Solutions India Private Limited. Mr. Vimal Ladha, CFO, Property Solutions India Private Limited. Mr. Animesh Samuel, CEO and co-founder at E42. And Mr. Santosh Abbimane, CFO at Xpressbees. I would request the following panelists to kindly join us on the stage. Mr. Peeyush Gupta, Mr. Swapnil Misra, Mr. Vimal Ladha, Mr. Animesh Samuel, and Mr. Santosh Abbimane. Is driving innovation and transformation in finance. And I would request the moderator to kindly begin with the panel discussion.
Thank you, Sneha. And good afternoon to everyone, and good afternoon to the esteemed panel out here. And I'm pretty well aware that this panel discussion is the only thing which is standing between the sumptuous lunch waiting at 1:30. So I'll be mindful of that. Now, before we start, let me demystify the agenda for a bit, because few words or few phrases which are pretty used or abused in all kind of discussions, papers, etc. is digital transformation, uncertain world in the era of globalizations, which pretty much is happening for, I believe, for last 3 decades, right? And world has always been uncertain. So, and since we are in the city of Bollywood, just to give a perspective how, since when we have been digital, Bollywood recorded its first song digitally in 1990 for a Sanjay Dutt and Madhuri Dixit starrer movie. So that's long how we have been in digitization area, right? So what we are discussing out here. When we started our career, probably 17, 18 years back, it was the era of ERP. Then came the era of EPM, Enterprise Performance Management. Then came all of a sudden, people started talking about big data. And then RPA, then came automation. And now for the last 1 year or 1.5 years, what you're seeing that, okay, before people even got a hang of AI, people have been started talking about cloud, and cloud was not even sufficient, private, hybrid, public, how many variations. People not even got proper hang of AI. We went into Gen AI and then several large language models, small language models, Llama, Granite, whatnot. So what essentially is happening, and I often draw this analogy, is like the Bay of Bengal just after a cyclone has passed. The seas are choppy, the waves are coming from all directions, there is strong undercurrent, sometimes it's sun is shining, sometimes it's raining. But if you stand at a distance and look at it, perfect picture to be put on a canvas, but extremely dangerous to get into, okay? But it might tempt you to get into. The crux of it, that it's happening not only from one direction, as I mentioned, ERP, EPM, RPA, big data came in waves. Now it's all coming from all direction. And not only it's coming from all direction, it's happening at the same time. But that's fine. That's how disruption works. That's why the word is disruption, right? There's no order for it. What is changing? Then what is that? I often call it two E's which are changing. One is, and that is where the real impact of digitization. The first E is experience, and the second one is expectation. And now when I talk about experience, this experience at en masse. Everybody wants to have digital experience. Everybody is having digital experience. And the experience, the first experience is the digital experience. And if I may quote one of the, their motto of one of our clients, which is one of the new airline, big global airline being set up in the Middle East, they like to call themselves digital first airline. Okay, we know about that. Now, the second part of this continuum is called experience. Now, in experience, I often say this is an Amazon Prime experience. I want it right now, and I want it by XYZ date because I'm paying a very, very small amount as a premium. So previously, one of our partners who groomed me is to say that, Kanian, remember, if you are selling something which is good, which is cheap, and which is fast to your client as a consultant, you are essentially asking him or her to daydream. But now, it's no longer daydreaming, it's no longer dreaming, it's actually a reality which client wants, which market wants, which consumer wants. With this change, and this is the digitization and disruption we are here today to talk about. This has created 4 areas of the CFO where they are literally exploring, in few cases struggling, in few cases experimenting, innovating. The first area is how do we adopt this change in our organization? The second one, how do I prepare my organization with the right set of talent, skills, and capabilities? Then, of course, everybody wants that. I mean, particularly in India, when there is a first Mars mission, we actually were proud that the Mars mission averaged less cost per kilometer than our auto rickshaws. So, what is the ROI? Okay, and the last one, what is my role? What's my CFO's role? How it's going to change? So with these 3 themes, I'm going to open up this panel discussion. And the first question I would like to ask to Vimal, okay, that what are the biggest challenges you think the CFOs face in adopting and integrating this massive, multi-directional, concurrent change which is happening? And how can they effectively overcome the obstacle?
Thank you. Good afternoon, everyone. So there are multiple challenges you can face, like cost is one of the biggest challenges when you want to implement any solution. The data risk, today's world, a lot of things when data is on cloud or data risk, cyber security risk, right talent in your team. But the biggest challenge which I see is change management, resistance to change. So if I take example, like at home also, if you have a son or daughter or you want to do some change, there is a resistance with the new generation. So I'll link that with one of example which our company has gone through. So we were implementing robotic process automation. So we were doing discovery sessions and everything. In the meetings, everybody was excited that, okay, something new is coming, and then it is good for the organization, good for the people. But when we started digging more, nobody was coming forward to do anything. So then I was heading IT that time. So again, I sat with few key people that what is happening, why people are not coming up for the change, because it is going to help the organization. One day, I was sitting in my cabin, and one of my team member who is heading was into billing preparation for clients. He came, sir, मेरे को एक चीज़ discuss करनी है आपसे, ये सब solution. I told him, yes, tell me. Sir, we'll implement this, but उसके बाद मेरे job का क्या होगा? That was eye opener for me. Okay, I have never thought that, okay, people can think, and that is why the solution is not getting implemented. So immediately then I did some analysis, and then I sat with them, explained that nobody's job is going to, and that is what our promoters' commitment also, that any solution implemented, no job loss will be there. We started the solution. Today the same person has been promoted 2 years back. Earlier he used to leave at 7 o'clock, 8 o'clock, 9 o'clock in the evening after leaving the work, because he was not able to complete on time. Today he is leaving at 6 o'clock. The solution which we have implemented is client billing through RPA. It is one of the solutions. We had implemented 20 such solutions. But the change management is that you have to buying of everyone. That is where, as a CFO, as a CXO, your role is coming into picture, that whether the team is comfortable in the change. That role is critical. If everybody is not in, you can't force the solution to be successful. That solution has given the employee retention also, because they are happy that they are able to work completion on time. They are getting more good work, like some analytical work is added to his profile. Company got benefit because we were able to reduce our DSO by more than 30 days. My interest cost was able to reduce by 60% just by implementing one solution. But the key is that change management. If you are not able to manage that well, rest, cost, the data security, everything can manage. You have to manage the team well. That is the crux of it.
Indeed, nice. I mean, what you just mentioned, I think, Ramit, in one of our presentation, it's not about making people redundant. It's about empowering people. And that's why you make them warm up to the change, which is going to come to the organization. Indeed, very useful insight. I'll go to the next dimension that you talk about, the ROI of this change, return on investment. And for that, I'll request Swapnil. Swapnil, if I have to ask you that, what are the top 3 factors from your experience which actually CFOs want to prioritize or want to take care to maximize the return on investment on the digital investment that they're doing? Okay.
Sure, and I think it's a very valid question, right? Because no amount of technological investment will guarantee returns. So I think it's a very valid question in terms of saying that what are the factors that we need to consider to ensure that we achieve maximum ROI on our investments. And I'll put it in a very simplistic fashion. I would say the first and the foremost is collaboration between IT and business. That's absolutely mandatory. I think that's the building block, and if you don't have that, then everything else is going to fall through the cracks. So that collaboration needs to be seamless, with well laid down cadence and a clear unified objective within the organization. I think the second one, which is another important one, is employee satisfaction. If your employees are not interested in it, then there's no fun of that technological change, right? Man hours getting liberated, people getting to do new ways of working or different ways of working, innovative ways of working is something that they look forward to. Something basically which should excite our people, which should excite our workforce. The third one, according to me, would be efficiency of the organization after you implement this technological change. Now, I would say this is the elephant in the room really, because how do you measure this efficiency, productivity per se? There's no guardrail, there's no parameter that anybody has specified in any book saying that these are the guardrails basis which you need to measure your efficiency, and if this goes up, then you have a successful technological investment, right? So I think this is one area where I would like to double click a little and maybe talk about as to what is that efficiency, what is that productivity that we per se talk about. And most of us here are finance professionals, and which is that one word that really scares us? I would say it's a red audit score that really gives me nightmares. So having a zero deficiency model in place with absolutely robust systems and processes and seamless business and tax compliance is one yardstick for efficiency being measured. These days, so many tools are available wherein you have one-click compliance, you have automated data reconciliations, you have so many off-the-shelf tools available, so on and so forth. So why not leverage some of those tools to ensure that you have zero deficiency model in place? Somebody earlier was talking about the control framework, right? And we know how critical is that control framework. As a finance individual, we cannot have loops in that control framework, and the technological investment that you do in your organization needs to ensure that that framework is absolutely spick and span and works seamlessly. The second one, I would say, is data insights, real-time insights. And in Mondeléz, we very proudly say, that data is the new currency. And I would agree with that, right? Data being the new currency, that's the power that data has today. analysis and paralysis of data, slicing and dicing data is something which is the need of the hour. It'll not only help in faster decision making, but informed decision making. And not only restricted to finance, but as finance leaders nowadays, we need to extend the scope to the organization. We are all business leaders, we are not only finance leaders, so we need to extend the scope to the organization. And hence we need to use this data in a way so that it can give us real-time insights on business performance, on highlighting trends, on highlighting anomalies, and give us those red flags or early warning signals much before they can become issues. If I have that in place, I think that is another success factor for me to determine whether my technological investment has given me the required returns or not. And the third one I would say is all of this being translated in the P&L, either in the form of cost reduction or in the form of your top line growing. That's the tangible benefit that we need to see once you have some kind of these investments in your organization. But saying all of that, I would say that none of this would work if you don't have the right investment in people. Having a multi-skilled, talented, and a diverse team in place with a very strong experience and outlook is something that is needed. And something that we're very proud of in Mondeléz is investment in capability and training. That's again the need of the hour. You need to upskill your talent on a constant basis and ensure that they have the requisite skills to be able to move forward with this changing environment. Secondly, as leaders, we are the glue for the transformation. We need to guide our teams, we need to support our teams and engage them through this transformational change, and we need to be with them on a constant basis. And the third one would be communication within the organization. The communication within the organization needs to be multifaceted, which should allow scope for feedback, for sharing any kind of thoughts, etc., so that there is a very clear objective being communicated across the organization. I would conclude by saying that there's no future in competing for low-wage jobs, right? The future lies in competing for high-wage, technology-driven jobs which challenge our skill and productivity. Good, bad, or indifferent, if we do not invest in technology, we will be left behind. Also, technology does not replace all of us great leaders, but technology in the hands of us leaders is transformational, and we need to make it transformational. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Swapnil. I mean, it's very interesting. We started this panel discussion talking about that the real impact of digital transformation is in the area of experience and expectation. And if I recap what Vimal and Swapnil just narrated, one theme emerges is the human angle. Vimal talked about the human empowerment in terms of change management, and the first 2 points which Swapnil mentioned, collaboration, which is again a human aspect, and also employee satisfaction, which is other of employee experience, right? And of course, then we also have the people dimension of this particular, how do we make the ensure, and the expectation angle, which Swapnil rightly put that it needs to show results on P&L. So it needs to actually meet the expectation of the streets, right? So we are getting two angles very, very prominently. One is the human angle, cutting through this digital thing, which often gets overlooked, and also the expectation angle. Now, while we are on this human angle, I would go to Animesh, okay? And just to on this point, how do you think that since all organizations are essentially human and we are talking about augmenting that human capability with digital capabilities, and with the pace and the uncertainty and multidimensionality with which the digital transformation are coming towards us, how do you prepare the organization for such technological disruptions which may come 3 months, 4 months, 1 year down the line, and it's constantly happening? How do we keep the organization relevant, prepared, so that it doesn't get blindsided?
Thanks for that, and thanks for having me here. So I think it's a very interesting question. So how, just to summarize what we're talking about is how can organizations stay relevant and easily adopt the technology in the coming future, right?
Absolutely,
yeah.
Yes.
So I think one of, and what we are seeing very recently, first of all, before we go to how, I think already Swapnil and all of you touched upon a lot of these aspects. I think let's ask ourselves why, right? Just because there is an AI out there, just because there is Gen AI, and we all have this corporate FOMO that, we should do something in AI. But apart from that, and we also spoke about efficiencies, like, why is it, it should finally end up in a P&L. I would like to take a few more moments and just dig a little deeper into that, right? Because the why is what the how can become very easy once you know the why. The why is, today we are looking at it because of our mindset of the previous RPA world. We are thinking about efficiencies and doing things for cheaper, faster, better, right? But I think it's much more than that. In the age of cognition, or cognitive abilities, you have to let us look at our history as a species, right? If you go a little back, for 2 billion years, we were running around from all other species. We were one of the weakest creatures on this planet. But when we acquired our cognitive artifacts like language, numbers, we, in the shortest span of a few thousand years, we came to the top of the food chain. And in one of those things that we did was we extincted 97% of other species on the planet, right? Imagine, and we as humans are also have an altruistic strain. Matlab, we can help each other and, we have a little bit of that in us. But when it comes to enterprise, and if you're talking about some enterprises becoming cognitive, in what I mean by that is, when an enterprise, any action that the enterprise does, let's say it processes an invoice, let's say it's dealing with a customer, let's say it's dealing with an employee, any of these actions, there is, from an AI point of view, we call these entities. There are always multiple entities involved. And each entity is actually getting enriched by a conversation. So for example, one of our customers, which is one of the largest telecom suppliers in the world, or telecom infrastructure providers in the world, when they implemented one AI coworker for marketing intelligence, they also built another coworker on our platform for customer care. They built a third coworker for business development. The beauty is, with every customer care interaction, the entities involved in that, the talk of their product, the partner who was doing the service delivery, all of this fed into the other AI coworkers of marketing intelligence and this. So you're going to be living in a world where it's not just that particular process, how cheap, fast, quick we can do it, but with that, whatever the intelligence that you gather, how can every other department in your enterprise use it, right? So I think that's also the answer. So now that you know the why, it's because, and I was talking to one of the CFOs of one of the largest appliance manufacturers in the world in the US. And you know what he told me? He told me, Animesh, today my main competition is not LG and Samsung, other appliance manufacturers. Any guesses who his main competition is? Who is the main competition of an appliance manufacturer if it's not an other appliance manufacturer? It's his reseller, Amazon. Because when it comes to appliances, Amazon knows who's looking for which feature in a toaster and how much they're willing to pay for it. And once you have that kind of information in real time, it becomes very difficult. I mean, the other parts become much easier compared to that kind of level of, and this is only in one aspect of the business I'm talking about, right? So how do you make future-proof your organization is look for not because AI is out there and not because we have to always make things cheaper or efficient, but look how you can grow intelligent. And when I say, and one of the ways you automate a process, and when AI automates that, the AI entities get enriched, and you take those enriched entities and make it available to the rest of the human or AI workers in the organization, right? That is what we have to do and I see that CFOs today are driving this more because fortunately or unfortunately, our CIOs and all other people have been too deep into their own technologies, into the previous generations of, like you said, the RPAs, the ERPs, and all of that. They were all studied and qualified and educated that time. So, but the CFO is close to the balance sheet. They are very close to the P&L. They know how much if I automate something, how much efficiencies I can gain, and how important, which aspects of your business, the intelligence is important. I think that we have to move ahead from thinking that the data is the new oil. I think intelligence is what you need to protect. You can flush out a lot of data. You might not remember where you learned a particular formula, or where you saw something. That's not going to be important. But once you know it, your future action based on what you've already learned, that is intelligent, and that needs to be guarded and protected, with everything you got, right? Because every cloud provider, everyone out there is looking for that. They don't need your data. You don't need data in the new future. You need to know what to do next. And how do I know what you know next? Because what you know is what you know. And I can flush out the data and be sure and keep the intelligence, and that is where the future is going to. So how do you prepare yourselves for the future? I think CFOs play a very keen role, and I think that, and I'm seeing that today in the market, and I think these are the two aspects that they need to really keep, a close watch on. How am I able to not just efficiently do a process, and these processes could be anywhere in the organization. It could be interaction with your employees, which is a very, very key and important aspect, because finally the AI is for people, right? It's not the other way around, right? So how do you keep your employees, your shareholders, your customers, all of them all happy, all of them being given what they want at a lower cost, much faster, but at the same time, make yourself extinct proof, so that another intelligent being doesn't come out there and says, I know your business and I know more about your business than you do, so let me do this for you.
Thanks. I mean, this is a very interesting perspective, what you just mentioned, and correct me if I'm wrong. Would it be okay to say that this is more of a, since we are talking about human plus digital co-worker, and in one of the presentations, the AI-led finance operating models, we saw that the AI infusion is breaking down the internal structural boundaries within the organization. Would it be okay to say that in the AI world, in the digital world, an organization is essentially a very porous ecosystem, and we need to protect, harvest, and protect the ecosystem intelligence which is there? So, I mean, it is a very interesting, would you agree to that? Okay, it's a very interesting perspective. Now, I would have loved to talk about it, for hours, and probably we should, but we have a timeline. We don't have a, luxury of unlimited time. So I'll move on to the last theme, which this digital transformation is producing, which is the role of the CFO and how it is changing, right? And I would go to Santosh. And Santosh, what do you think that in a typical traditional finance organizations, we have these tactical activities which typically get automated, then we have few analytical activities or discretional activities which somewhat gets automated, and then we have the absolute where management inferences, gut feeling, data-driven decision-making, everything, which is a strategy formulation, right? How my organization should, because ultimately at one point in time, we are all on our own and we have to take a gut call. What do you think that how this digital transformation, particularly AI, Gen AI, so much of, human machine intelligence area, how the role of CFO in that particular strategic decision-making is changing or is going to change?
Yeah, thank you. So good question. If an organization is a car, right, I would like to think that the CFO would like to be the steering wheel, and figure out what direction to go, anticipate the bumps, slow down or accelerate as the need be. Yeah? Yeah, okay, sorry. Just to repeat, if an organization is a car, the CFO would like to be the steering wheel. Yeah? And if the CFO has to be the steering wheel, he has to anticipate the bumps, where to slow down, where to accelerate. And for all of this, you require the best-in-class tools that are available to you and used in the way they are supposed to be used. And while we have a lot of buzzwords on AI and Gen AI, they need to be used in the right times at the right places, right? So AI is about replicating or mimicking human decision-making. Gen AI would be creating or making outputs for humans to consume. But if you look at the evolutionary scale, starting with what Animesh was saying, part one has always been about productivity, right? You automate repetitive tasks, then you streamline and improve. And this is part one. And for this, the first wave of technology developments that you mentioned, which was on democratization of data. With data, you could know what were your weak points, you could automate, and you could streamline, and you could improve. But from democratization of data, what we need today, in today's VUCA world especially, is democratization of insight. Right? How do you generate insight from, whereas all your earlier efforts were on generating data? And democratization of insight requires enhanced precision and data-driven predictive analytics. And this means not relying on finance systems alone. Any system that we build, whether it is with AI or Gen AI, has to straddle operational and finance systems, marry the two, and then give an output that will help both the business and the CFO take decisions and arrive on the same page. So for example, if I'm a logistics company, right? So if we have operational losses that are hitting my P&L, the answer to that lies in operational analytics. So I need data from finance, I need data from operations, and somebody, I don't want 10 people looking at 500 or 1,000 locations and trying to figure out what A, B, C, D. I would rather deploy an intelligent assistant or AI to tell me which are the 20 things I need to look at so I can fix them. That is one part of what we call a Gen AI, right? Because I need to know the answers to some of my questions that I can action. And this is a large part of what we are not doing. And we are hoping that the new tools of both AI and Gen AI will be able to do that. Okay, so for example, I'm experimenting with AI for financial reporting, where you ask a question and your P&L, instead of a P&L, you get an answer saying what is the variance for X to B, what is my last 3 years, this product versus this. Can I do a NLP? Yeah? Can I ask the question and get an answer? Because this is base level AI for finance. The next, I would say, use case is on the risk management and fraud detection. And that is the largest in specific industries like ours, maybe BFSI, almost everywhere. Anomaly detection and actioning those anomalies. Earlier, anomaly detection was a lot of data, right? You have 3,000 lines of anomalies. Which one are relevant? What do I do with those points of data? And which do I need to action urgently is where the new generation of AI tools is something that the CFO should look to deploy. The next two would be, I would say, on tailored communication and financial solutions. I have a vendor ecosystem, I have a customer ecosystem. How do I communicate with them? And finance is typically very poor at communicating with both. Can I do something for my vendors? Can I tailor a financial solution for my vendors or my smaller customers so that my ecosystem is tightened and I can leverage both the highs and lows of my business with both my customers and vendors? This is another use case. Already in financial services, people are giving tailored portfolios to customers, right? Again, this is based on the new tools in AI that are available. And last but not the least, in the area of, I would say, customer engagement and employee engagement for finance, right? So a lot of finance issues get settled on email, right? Can I derive financial insights from multiple sources, right? Customers are logging complaints, that is in text. My users, my vendors are raising issues, that is in text. Can I stitch this together with my numbers and try to drive insight that will help me drive the company better? So these are, I think, what we need to look at, because what we have done so far is generate copious amounts of data, as Animesh was saying. We have to move beyond data. We have to use AI as an intelligent assistant to drive not only productivity, which is where we are focused, but drive insight. Because without insight, you cannot influence and derive the outcome that you need for your organization. Thank you.
Thank you, Santosh. I mean, it is very interesting to see that one theme is emerging, and from what the earlier panelists said here, that the role of the CFO, generally finance, we all think that finance is a very typical, back office kind of functions, okay? But with this democratization of data, which all has already happened, harvesting of community intelligence, okay, and the human empowerment, the role of the CFO is becoming more of front office, and you rightly mentioned that how do I work for my vendor and customer ecosystem? Can I, marry them together and gain additional business insights from there? So CFO's role is becoming, I often say that is chief business development officer by democratization of the data, bring in more value for the enterprise that they're operating on. Very intriguing insights. And on here, there's one thing, since you mentioned that, productivity everybody does, okay, we need to go to insights, but beyond insights also, how do we make it work? And one post, I am not recollecting exactly the name of the person who started this, is a very famous thing right now circulating on LinkedIn, that somebody is saying that I want AI to do my dishes and laundry so that I can work on my paintings and poetries, not the other way around, okay? So now, not to denounce the importance of laundries and dishes needed for running the house and feeding the people, but if we have to draw an analogy, there are tasks in finance organizations which are like this, repetitive and sometimes pretty boring job, okay? And there are activities like forecasting, strategic planning, etc., which is like the drawing the painting or doing the poetry, okay? I'll come to Peeyush, to you, that to what extent do you think this AI ML agenda and how far we can and we should take this into those areas of predictive forecasting, strategic planning, risk management, which are very, very sometimes discretionary, judgment-oriented activities, right? So to what extent we can take that?
Yeah, no, thanks, Kanian. So, see, as a CFO, nowadays, as Swapnil said, we are no longer a finance leaders, we are the business leaders. The data in a CFO is transformational. Okay, so what I believe and my experience is those technologies, AI is now buzzing word from last few years, but earlier the technology, India is advancing towards technology from last two or more decades. So it is really playing a vast role in every area of finance, be it decision making, scenario planning, risk management, predictive analysis, right, data. So I'll take a couple of live examples from my real life, which I've experienced. Our company is into the commodity trading business, and the risk management is a key role which I play. And risk could be of many types, like the credit risk, market risk, FX risk, volatility, government intervention. So few of the risks which are macro driven, like there is say suppose this year the chickpeas crop is 25% lower due to the weather. I can't do anything about it, right? But few things which are in our control is, say, if I need to make sure that, because a lot of people which we deal with are very fragmented or unorganized players. It's not like I'm dealing with a very organized set of players. There are small brokers, small vendors who defaults. So risk management from whether I need to extend the credit to that or not, right? So we use a tool with our credit insurer, Cofounder, where we just enter our history with the supplier, their returns, and they also gather the market intelligence, and they throw us that this is the percentage of default that can happen. It gives me that gives me, instead of taking judgment out of the people, like the trader says that, okay, no, you give the credit to this guy, he'll not default. But if the history says that there is a default, how can I trust this? So that is a data driven. It gives me a data back the decision that, okay, these are the 20% chances there is a default which can happen. So I can take a call as a CFO. And believe me, if one party goes bust, 50% of my profit is gone. So that is really a very critical risk, especially now coming to the market risk. So we deal in cotton. Cotton is a exchange traded commodity, and there are 20 years of data of ICE futures which are available. Now, how do I use this? You may say that you can do the algo trading and all, right? But eventually, with that data, if I lay over my position data, my S&D supply data, my research, that where the crop is coming, where the weather is getting hot, and it really gives me a trading strategy that, okay, we expect that from this to this, you should accumulate, that gives me an annual trading range. So that is really helpful for me and for my trading business. Where should I take the position? Where should I build my position? Where should I liquidate the position? Which humanly, if I do it on Excel, not possible for me. Now coming to the predictive, I'll give a very real life example which I've experienced in my previous company. I was working in a very large shoe retailing business. They are the largest shoe retailer, and their SKUs were coded. Like first two digits gives whether it's a leather product, canvas product. Third digit gives whether it's a man or it's the women. So we really want to bring the customers back to the stores 2 times a year. That's what the goal is, because unless you have the repeat purchase, retail will not make profit, because India's footwear consumption is less than 2. Can you imagine the 1.4 billion people are there, but our consumption is really low, which is there 4 or 5 in the developed countries. So what we did, we feed that data into the CRM solution. That engine has given us that, okay, this guy has bought the formal shoes 2 months back. He'll not buy a formal shoes. You don't give the offer for a formal shoes. You give him the casual shoes offer. So earlier it was army of people who were just slicing that, okay, this is the offer I want to run. As a finance guy, I would say, no, it is not possible. Your marketing campaign won't make a return. But once we have that data, that, okay, these are the tailor-made offers which you can give to a customer, the conversion rate and the repeat rate has gone dramatically up, 25 to 30% higher. So this was the power of which I've seen, and I am really a fan of it. And apart from this, I believe I have seen that the IBM has a software which can predict the attrition rate. So you guys can do your manpower planning. So I mean, this data and these computational ability is really revolutionizing the entire decision making in the entire company at all the levels, not at the CFO, CEO, supply chain, HR, everywhere. I think that is going to be the future.
I mean, since you mentioned this data augmented decision making in terms of taking decision, I am forced to recollect one of the very punchy statement one of the CFO made to me when I asked him this question during one of our CFO study, that how it has helped you to make your decision, or how do you make the decision. See, before this data analytics, he said, when taking decision, use of my gumption was like 70%. In other words, I didn't know, or the situation used to be, I don't know what I don't know. But with this, I at least know that what I don't know. Okay, so the use of that gumption has come down from 70% to probably 25%. There's still something that I don't know what I don't know, but the risk factor, and this is where the risk management comes in, what you just mentioned, has come down drastically by using of these models. A very interesting discussion, just for the sake of time. So to summarize, go ahead.
Just to add live examples of like how data is helping. So we are into facility management, and we manage more than 700 sites. So in our organization, we started making 700 P&L every month. Earlier, the data used to be with us only in the finance team, and operation and sales team were not aware that how to use the data or what. So through the tool of the business intelligence, we are providing data to them. Now, every month they get insight that which site or which location they are making lower profit or negative. They can start working on those sites, how to convert them in profit. And we give the cost breakup also, whether it's a payroll, whether it's a material overhead or machinery, what is the area where they have to work. So sitting there, they have a trend of last 5 years data with them that, okay, how it was performing, where they need to work. So data is like, you have to collaborate with the data to give them, and I think that is going to make the difference.
Indeed, absolutely with you on this. So before we, open this forum for question to the floor, I'll just summarize the 2 impact areas that you talk about for digital transformation: expectations and experience. Now, on the expectation side, Yes, of course it came, that it has to translate to value. It has to show the value on the financial statements. Every business is there for making money, okay, not a charitable organization. And the second unmistakable trend or theme which has emerged, that this digital transformation, if it has to make money, if it has to be adopted, we cannot ignore the human angle. The people, they have to have a better experience, they have to feel empowered, and absolutely the intelligence which comes from managing the people, working with them as an ecosystem, that has to be harvested and transfused back to the organization and the digital transformation programs for that to make happen. So with this, I open the forum for question. So any question from the floor to the panel? Just 1 second. Can somebody please give him a mic? Thank you.
The CFO is being a custodian of all the data. Okay, whatever we're discussing about the data science, algorithm, setting, search engine will help you to data science, data analytics. That will help you to take care of the past data, the year on year or the futuristic kind of thing. But there is a flaw in the system of risk management. As Peeyush Gupta was explaining about that. Every industry is going a risk management to prevent that. What is the automation is going to help? Like Mr. Santosh was talking about logistics industry. It has got purely with the service level agreement. If the delayed delivery or delay in the commitment, you'll have a lot of penalty. If you take it as the compliances also, if you're not able to do it, there is a lot of penalty or kind of thing. How it will help us to prevent the risk management? As you say that Santosh was talking about the steering wheel with the CFO, but the toolkit is there like I could say that compliances and risk management. How do help us the automation prevent for all the losses or whatever is going to happen on the risk management point of view?
Thank you. Who would like to take the question here?
Hello? Yeah. So, yeah, I think it's a very good question. So, I think just to summarize, your question was not just dealing with past data and predictive cash flows and all of that, but how can AI help in risk management? Was that your question? Okay. So, yeah, we do a lot of use cases within that domain, within risk management at E42. So there are different kinds of, risk, whether it's internal vulnerabilities, fraud detection, all of that, depending on the use case, depending on the kind of risks that your particular organization are exposed to, they can be different. But just to summarize it, just to make it very simple, when an AI is taught to do something or trained, as the word we use within AI. So just to give an example, if it's a solution in account payable, for example, right? So in account payable, there is a chance that you might, that there is a lot of vendor data, there is a lot of supply chain data, just in processing one invoice, right? So if that, in those aspects, what we do is, we are able to look, when it's done by the AI, it looks at all these vulnerabilities. It makes sure that it is just doing 100% compliant stuff only. So when you're training the AI, you can train it with all of these parameters, and then you ensure that all of this is resident, on a very secure network of cloud or on-prem or whatever. And that way, in the action also, if there is any kind of, and we know that when it comes to risk, the biggest risk, and any risk analyst will tell you that, is the vulnerability in the human side of things, right? But when you train the AI, when you're doing it, all of these things, the probability highly reduces. And also we can put markers and checks and balances to ensure that, all of these things get detected and come out very early. And even, or else it will come out in an RCA, very fast. It becomes pretty transparent in that sense.
Thanks. We are just at top of the time, so I would just request for any more question. We'll take one more question before we close the panel. Yes, please.
particular software or anything available, or it has to be built?
So we use the software given by our global team, and that is in coordination with our insurer, Cofounder. So I'm sure once you go out in the market, you will be able to find some solutions, because a lot of companies are evaluating, and those are customizable. And I'll just like to add it. See, the human intervention is not going to go away. AI will throw a data-backed decision to you. Now it will be your call. It's not like that AI said you do it or you don't do it. But earlier the decisions were taken based on the gut feel, based on the people relationship. Now you have the data. AI enables you. It's an enabler. It gives it, because of the computational ability, it gives you a data point that, okay, this is the possibility that is going to happen. Now still, if you want to do it, you do it. But as a CFO, if I want to mitigate my risk management, I obviously will not go for an high risk. I will go either for a lower or moderate risk, right? So AI is going to help you to take the decisions. It will not take decisions on behalf of you.
Till now, we had to go to some credit rating agencies, etc., to get those details. So it was quite expensive.
There are a number of providers like DNB and all, right? So they do it. I think in the back end, they must be using that engine only, right? Okay. But if you have that volume, which like for us it is, we do trade of more than 1.5 million tons of food grain. Thousands of parties are there where we need to extend credit. For us, it makes sense. But if you are in a very organized setup, chances of default are low, then there's no point. So it always depends. See, again, what Swapnil said, the investment and the ROI has to be justified. If it is, the cost is there which you are not able to demonstrate the benefit, then what's the point of the wasting of organization's resources on that part? So that has to be a very close call.
What is this category called? This particular solution category? Any specific name for this category?
Category means risk management.
So maybe I can throw some light, because in Mondeléz we engage with a lot of agencies to evaluate the credit worthiness of our distributors before we really onboard them, and even if they are onboarded. And as Peeyush mentioned, we engage with multiple agencies to assess them. We basically call it the credit evaluation or the evaluation, and that is across multiple parameters. That's not only financial parameter, that would be across multiple parameters, which would even involve an infrastructure study of the distributor, infrastructure, etc. And as he said, it just throws out facts in terms of saying low risk, high risk, good to go ahead, things like that. It's upon the business then to decide what are the next steps, whether you want to really go ahead with that partner or you want to take some actions to make the partner fit for onboarding.
Thank you.
So with that, I think we'll bring the panel discussion to it's really been a fantastic and enriching discussion, a lot of unique insights, okay? So I really thank all of the panelists out here, and thanks for this wonderful discussion.
So much. Thank you to all the panelists for joining us, and thanks to moderator. And now I would request Sudhindra Bhardwaj, Director, Solution Consulting at Happy, to join us on the stage for the felicitation.